Hello, this is Jonathan Bryant, and I'm here to show my Science Center. My Science Center for this class is on simple machines, and it's for a first grade class. I want to get into this talking about my activities first before I get into the Common Core standards, the materials list, and all of those kinds of things. So first off, we have a book activity. In this case, the book in question is the book Simple Machines by David Adler. It is a 32-page children's book that details a couple different kinds of simple machines, most specifically wheels, levers, and pulleys, and gives examples as to what these machines are and how you use them. My activity for this assignment is to take the book and have students, after they've read it at the Science Center, have them write just a simple one-sentence description about what they would use one of these machines for. And it can be anything. It can be a hypothetical, and if they don't have an idea themselves that they would use this for in their lives, they could come up with one on the spot. It's fine. Moving from there on to my second activity, which is a construction activity for balancing weights. I made an example of this here. The materials for this assignment would be two paper cups, scissors, tape, a pencil, some cardboard tubing, and any kind of manipulatives. I'm using change. I say on here pennies. I'm using mixed change. And the idea here is that students will be building sort of a rudimentary seesaw, where you have the fulcrum point here against the cardboard and the pencil, where both sides of it will act as sort of a seesaw. And students during this activity will take their manipulatives and they will experiment with it, essentially. Start weighing down one side, one bit at a time, at which point it tips over. It's not very stable, exactly. In fact, I think my change fell out of the side of it. But you can gather that up, grab more, put some into this side of it, see if it tips back over. And then, really hope that it doesn't just tip over. Add some more onto the side of it. Watch it tip over to this side. None of these projects are particularly stable because they're made with recycled materials, but this is the idea of the assignment, is you have this setup here with the fulcrum. You have students that are putting things from one cup into the other, testing how weights work, understanding the point of a fulcrum as it pertains to a lever. And then once the assignment is over and throughout the process of making it, they will be annotating the process to discuss what worked, what didn't work, and simply their observations. So this would be the second activity. The third activity refers to axles and wheels. This activity, students are using paper plates to make wheels and using a pencil to demonstrate the properties of an axle, as well as a pulley. The materials for this assignment are 4 paper plates, a glue stick to glue the paper plates together, a spool of thread, and scissors. Students are going to be crafting a axle, which I have one here as well. It's a bit beaten up by now. I've had to test it a bunch of times to make sure that it works properly. Essentially, students are putting holes in the paper plates on both sides, threading, gluing the different paper plates together to create wheels, and then threading the pencil through and putting the actual thread here on it. It's a little unstable just because it's not the best example, but you can kind of work this as a set of wheels. It falls apart pretty easily, but that's when I wanted to touch on the fact that this assignment is made entirely out of recycled materials. I know that's a big important part of science lately. It's building as much from recycled materials as possible, and this is also important because these are all things that students have in their homes. They can make these at any point for their own practice. They can do it for their own curiosity. They can show it to their parents. What's important is that students are learning how to make things. The fourth activity here is pretty simple. It's just a worksheet activity. It's about the different kinds of simple machines because this is only a first grade activity, so I didn't want to complicate things too much. You can see there's a pulley here, there's a wheel here, there's an inclined plane. There's several different simple machines, most of which this Science Center itself discusses. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about the NGSS requirements and the Common Core and talk about my 2 different assessment strategies for this assignment. So the first thing here is the NGSS. The 2 that I found for this predominantly were of engineering design for first grade. Both of the assignments here for the fulcrum and for the axle and wheel both have to do with engineering things. And the reading assignment also has to deal with observations and applying those observations to their real life. Going forward, we'll also see this with the assessment strategies. Over here, we have the Common Core standards. The Common Core standards mostly pertain to either geometry with math or with the literacy involved with the book itself, which is also where a cross discipline for this Science Center comes in, as the reading of the book. And perhaps also it could be argued with the note-taking required when creating the projects. That is also perhaps a part of literacy and science, as well as mathematics. So that brings me finally here to the assessment strategies. I came up with 2. I didn't put them down here on the board. My first assessment strategy for the entire Science Center is to take everything you did and write a pretty brief reflection on it. Very informal. Have students just talk about the things that they learned, the things that they liked about the project, the things they didn't like. Get them thinking about ways they could have improved building things, even things that they couldn't have improved upon, things that are out of their control. I want to get students to start thinking scientifically as sort of a post-mortem of sorts on the projects that they're doing. My other assessment strategy for this is have them do a presentation at home. Again, these materials are all recycled materials. I would not be surprised if students had almost all of the items to make these projects at home. So I would like it if students could take this idea home, show it to their parents, innovate on it some way if they can think about it, and have parents sign off on their having done that. Ideally, have that brought back to class as a form of assessment. And that would be all for my Science Center here on Simple Machines. Thank you.